Oh no, what are we doing?
I don't know, man.
Did you ever put the other link? No, you didn't.
I did put the other link in the private chat. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't hit the little triangle. There we go.
Really confusing.
That's the article by William Dembski going, to the book we're going to be covering.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here's the other one. This is a longer, more technical response to the book.
Oh, okay, cool. So that is from Dembski?
Yep. He's a convinced Darwinist. Well, I think Dembski could be called a convinced God person, right? So, I mean, like for them to say, oh, we're convinced Darwinists, I don't know. There's something wrong with that, but it's,
it's like, name calling because
I know you are, but what am I?
Exactly. It's just,
evolution continuity.
It's just, buzzwords, trigger words for already convinced creationists to keep the loyal givers giving.
Yep, the loyal giver. Well, they really believe this. Like, okay, so we jumped right into chapter 6 of this book, which is
That's right. Most books I have found start like chapter 1, then chapter 2, then chapter 3, and this Failures of Mathematical Anti-Evolution by Jason Rosenhaus is no different. But for some reason, we decided to start in chapter 6.
Well, we are so brilliant that we went right, to the third semester.
That's right. We took the CLEP test and we CLEP'd out up to chapter 6.
There you go. Yep. What is information? I think is where it starts out. So,
but the reason why we wanted to go for chapter 6 was because it's about information and combinatorial mathematics or something like that, and with all this crap about mutations always decrease information, blah blah blah. Therefore, evolution can't work, there's other genetic arguments, but that's the main one. The word information being tossed around, number one, without being defined very well, and number two, without showing your math.
Right. And information, something that we use in a number of different ways. And the most common one is that I can give you information about where I live and you can come find me. Right.
Yeah.
Humans exchanging information. And they insist that, there was an information sender and an information receiver, and the receiver is what? Biology, the cell, embryos. Who are the receivers? Well, that's a little iffy right there. And the sender has to be God because it has to be intelligent information.
The intelligence in there somewhere, unspecified, but somehow they want to invoke that.
So let's see. The first thing I have highlighted is the arguments in this chapter take a different approach. They focus not on the complexity of adaptations, but instead on the genetic instructions leading to their assembly. So he takes the embryological approach, like things are assembled, not based on instructions about where do you put this limb and where do I put that limb and how many limbs are there, but rather on a different kind of instruction that genetics provides inside of an embryo or an egg, basically your mama's egg. These why do girls get all the eggs?
Excuse me?
Why do girls get all the eggs? We never get to have babies.
From what I hear, you probably don't want that experience.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I've heard it's like root canal or worse, or kidney stones. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and having to wear pee pads, for the rest of your life, even though you're, in your 30s.
Yeah. It is claimed that where novel information is found, it must have originated ultimately from an intelligent source. Unsurprisingly, the branch of mathematics used to bolster this argument is information theory. So they start out with information theory, and they go back to Shannon information, and then they add a few layers. They add, meaning, semantic information. And then they will add pragmatic information. That's where the thing is actually constructed, or what you do with the meaning. So that would be the pragmatic level. So you got like 3 levels of it. And now in this book, Rosenhaus says that information is immaterial, and I do not agree with that at all. I see information as being entirely material and physical, but we can get to that.
Yeah.
It has.
I remember the discussion about immateriality, but I'm just not clear that I guess I didn't zoom in on where that was also his idea. I was thinking that was a creationist ID kind of expression, because they want to get around to God, who is a spirit, who is immaterial.
Yep.
But now that he does a really good overview of Shannon information, and I have a couple of books on information theory, those small brief introductions from Yale or Harvard, those series, a very short introduction to whatever the subject. But I found that if you don't read them, you don't really learn to understand Shannon information, and I haven't read them. So this was a good for we'll just call me a novice or a first timer in looking at information theory. This was a good overview because it explains some of the basic mathematical concepts behind it. And speaking of mathematical concepts behind it, were you going to kind of discuss those?
Yeah, I was going to try to anyway. We'll see. Okay. So I've got a box here, right? And my badly drawn box has 8 objects in it. And I've labeled the objects, but don't get hung up on the label. That's just a name we're going to call the objects. Because I want, you're going to have to guess which object I have picked. Okay? So you have some uncertainty about which one of these 8 objects I have picked. Do you happen to know which one I picked?
I do not happen to know.
You do not happen to know because you cannot read minds. You're not very good at that. I know that's one of the skills that you don't have, Scott.
I've tried, but I always get the zap that they give you when you guess the card wrong.
Right.
I always get that. I always get zapped.
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to guess, is it on the left or is it on the right? And if it's on the left, we're going to say 0. And if it's on the right, we're going to say 1. So the first guess is, or the first bit of information. Okay, I'm going to tell you what number I picked, right? I better write it down because I'll fucking forget it.
Yeah. If you're going to pick a number in it. Meanwhile, while people are trickling in, I just want to remind everybody, this book, The Failures of Mathematical Anti-Evolution, and you'll see the book cover on the thumbnail for this video, is not just about information theory. It's about the way that creationists inappropriately use mathematics as a rhetorical device to persuade people toward creationism. And so, like, chapter 1 is scientists and their hecklers. There's a basics of evolution in chapter 2. There's information about mathematical reasoning in here. And there's a chapter prior to this in chapter 5 on probability theory. So it's not just information theory, but it's a big chapter. So it goes from page 163 to like 220. So a lot of time is spent on information theory.
Yep, and this is a brand new book, 2022, I think, and he is a very good writer. So it's really a worthwhile read. It's an easy read. He manages to explain things very well.
Yeah, apparently Rosenhaus is a lot like people like Gutsick Gibbon, and what we try to do on this channel is, while they may have certain academic pursuits, they also kind of as a hobby or avocation or a side interest, like Dr. Dan, will communicate with creationists. And so all through the early 2000s and mid 2000s, Rosenhaus has been going to conferences and presentations, and even like in question and answer periods or rub elbows with the speaker kind of opportunities, challenging individuals, authors on their creationist views. So he's experienced with creationists, but he does most of his work in the realm of mathematics. Like he wrote a book about the mathematics of Sudoku. He's written books or at least articles about the Monty Python paradox. Is that what it's called? The Monty Python paradox? And so his work is in mathematics mostly, but he did write a book about called Among the Creationists back, must have been 2012 or something like that. And then now there's this book about the mathematics of anti-evolutionism. And so he's I'm sorry, I just saw Casey Randy's "You don't know what Scott can do." But no,
I have uncertainty about what Scott can do because I can't read minds either.
Yeah, right. That's right.
No.
But anyway, so he's a professional mathematician at the PhD level, and he just kind of on the side he's been studying creationism and their means of communication and their arguments and things like that.
Yeah, he has a PhD in theory of equations, which is
high level stuff.
It's really high level stuff. So, but I don't want to be a Cordova and go on and on about people's credentials.
That's just a little bit of biography. And what was that atheist Bible study we participated in a couple of times?
Yes.
When I did a presentation, he called my presentation a little loose. Was that the word he used? So
I think it was even worse than that, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, but I guess that is a valid criticism in that I've just interrupted the flow from Mike to remember to do kind of an overview of the book and an overview of the author, which should be the first thing you do when you're reviewing a book. So now I'm done with that, and I'm going to give it back over to Speed to continue what he's talking about. Basically, he picked a number, and he wrote it down so he wouldn't forget it, and we're going to continue.
Yeah, you already got it wrong. I didn't pick a number.
Okay, see?
I picked one of these balls.
Okay.
And each of these balls has a name.
Okay.
CABFEGH. What the fuck is that? D. Okay. So I labeled these balls. So we're trying to figure out which ball I picked, and I've got 8 balls. So your probability of picking the right ball is 1/8. So 1/8. If you were just randomly guess which ball I picked, right? Okay, but now I'm telling you, is it on the right or the left? So if it's on the left, I'm going to give it a 0. If it's on the right, I'm going to give it a 1.
Okay, so it's a binary choice.
I'm going to tell you right now, it's on the right. So I have given you one bit of information, right? And that bit is number 1. Okay, we're going to write a binary number. Who the hell is it? We'll get to that. Okay, anyway. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to divide it up again and say, okay, if in this group of four numbers, is it on the left or is it on the right? Right.
Correct.
So is it a 0 or is it a 1? Left or right? I'm going to tell you it's on the left. So we're going to give that a 0. Okay.
Yes, right. It's
now
the yellow 0, not the blue 0.
Is that yellow to you? It's supposed to be green. Anyway,
it's yellow to me, but then again, I'm not wearing my glasses.
Yeah, well, I got a bunch of green trees out here. They're probably interfering with my perception. So anyway, so now we have 2 bits of information. Okay, a bit of information is like a 0 or a 1. So we have a 1 and we have a 0. So we know that. And now we have to figure out whether it's on the left or right between these two. And I'm going to tell you it's on the right. So I'm going to give it a 1. Now you have all the information you need to know that I picked the little ball named G. Okay?
Okay.
And if you had guessed that, you would have a 1/8 probability of doing that. And if we took the log 2, okay, of 1/8, log 2 of 1/8 equals -3, telling you that you have 3 bits of information. Okay, so information is defined as negative log 2, and then the probability of something happening, probability of X equals 3. That gives you 3 bits of information. Okay. Now, if I'd given you 2 bits of information, the thing about probabilities is that they have to add. We have to be able to add them up. They're called linear. So if I give you 2 bits of information, then you have 2 bits, and then I give you 1 bit. So now 2 plus 1 has to equal 3. So all probability. Now that might seem really silly and stupid, but the more information I give you, it adds up. It's a very linear relationship. It's called. That means you could just add them up, right? So that has to happen. So 2 plus 3 equals, or 2 plus 1 equals 3, that sort of thing. Okay. So that's part of it, right? But then when we're like, one of the confusions, or one thing that can be a confusion, is that if we have a big, huge number like this, right? 61370524, for you to guess that number, we're not going to. That's bigger than eight bits of information. That's going to take quite a bit more. So there are 10 ways to guess the first number, 10 ways to guess the second number, 10 ways to guess the third number, and we end up with 10 to the 8th power. Okay. So 10 times 10 times 10, 8 times. And then we take 1 over 10 to the 8th, and we end up with a very large number for our information, basically. We would take the log 2 of that, and I do not have a calculator that can do log 2 right now. And that equals some number, right? That'll give us a number of bits of information that we need to represent that. So when we're talking about protein spaces, which we're going to be talking about, we can have, so the first one can be any one of 1 to 20 proteins, right? The second one can be 20 proteins, and the third one can be 20 proteins, etc. So if we have, let's see here. If we have 150 amino acids, I'm sorry, I said proteins. I was still doing that. After all these years, I'm still doing that. Okay, 20 to the 150th power is how you would define which protein we have, right? Except you have to divide that by 2. Okay, so that's how many we have. Because if we have a protein with alanine, we have lysine, and we have proline, that's the very same protein as proline, lysine, and alanine, right? Because
so the order doesn't necessarily matter.
Yeah, well, whether you reverse them doesn't matter, but the order does matter.
Okay.
So the particular order does. So that would be 20 to the 150th power divided by 2, basically. If we had 150 amino acids. So what they're doing is the creationists will always do 1 over 20 to the 150th power divided by, they seldom divide by 2 for some reason, because they don't understand that it doesn't matter which direction you're coming from. But anyway, so they'll come up with this ridiculously large amount of information that it has, with the assumption that the protein has to be exactly the way, it has to be that exact conformation, right? And that's where we'll get into it in the book in a little bit with Douglas Axe and what he was saying about something called the protein space.
Mm-hmm. And Rosenhaus is, goes through that idea of protein space and why Axe isn't exactly correct in what he's saying, his critique of it. So yeah, that is dealt with as well, which is great, because didn't we deal with the idea of protein space and the number 10 to the 1 over 10 to the 77th power or something like that with
we've dealt with it a lot, I think,
with an apologist.
Yep. Yeah, something like that. But now the other thing about information in the universe, okay, the reason that I say it's physical before we get started here, is like if I have 3 objects, right? 3 little bits of matter, say 3 particles, 3 electrons, okay? And they're in a certain, the thing is, the electrons are all identical. So there's one pattern right there. We know that this electron is the same as that. This electron, is the same as this electron, is the same as that electron, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then over here, I have another 3 electrons. And I got to try to draw these very carefully. And like that, and like that, right? So now I have 2 clusters of electrons, okay? All the electrons are the same, okay? But there's something else about matter and space. And there's a couple of things that we have to get to about matter and space. For one thing, there's a certain distance between these 2 electrons and between these 2 electrons and these 2 electrons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens to be isomorphic or the same or homologous to this group of electrons over here. So there is a pattern. So there's something, so the information is not only that I have 3 electrons, but it's where they are in relation to each other and then relation to the rest of the universe. Now, human beings are really good at seeing these patterns between 2 different groups of electrons, right? Like we see clouds that look like our mama, we'll get all weepy and, hey, it looks like my mama, I miss her, that sort of thing. What the hell?
I get kind of weepy when they look like Donald Duck.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, so there's, humans are very good at, well, not only humans, but all animals with complicated nervous systems are really good at pattern recognition, right? And we see patterns in things, and humans are also good at describing patterns. So we not only see the pattern and recognize it, but we can describe it. And because humans can describe patterns, you'll have really good physicalists and people like Rosenhaus saying that information is not material, that there's something immaterial about it, because it doesn't matter if these are electrons or protons. There's something about them and the relationship that they have with each other. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't have done that. What the hell am I doing here? Scott, stop me. Okay, there's something about these 2 things that are homologous and the same, and that is an actual physical relation, because we know that things are a certain distance in time and space apart, right? And that's part of information. So that's why I say it's all physical. And now the other thing that's interesting about matter is that if you take 2 atoms and you put them together, okay, they will do some weird quantum stuff and they'll form some sort of weird structure. So because they are really close together, all of a sudden quantum effects will take over. And now this little glob right here is very different than these 2 atoms when they're separated. It has taken on a different nature because of quantum fields, basically. it becomes a different thing, and that's also part of information. So the basic information that is built into biology is the information that is in carbon atoms, nitrogen atoms, oxygen atoms, and phosphorus atoms, and how they behave in these quantum fields. So that's a big part of it. So we probably went too far down the rabbit hole on that one. So let's get back to the book. Have you read my book? You didn't read my book.
Read my book.
God, you see, Creation Myths did a 10-minute takedown on Jensen, showing how.
Yeah, I did see that.
Because I listened to Jensen, and he was saying, you see, the branches predict the population, and it's like, what is he talking
even
about?
I knew that. Even no, because you can imagine a branch that only resulted in 500 of a particular species, and another that had 50,000. You know, it's like it doesn't determine.
The two have nothing to do with each other, but he even got the basic population genetics wrong. It was absolutely amazing. What the fuck am I so big for? I want to be small.
Of course, I realize that it's probably not a viable population if there's only 50 of them, but
right,
it's about to be an extinct population.
Yep. Anyway, so what do we got here? So summarizing, we want our information. Okay, he talks about information at the beginning of this chapter, and it's a very good introduction, and he shows you the log and why you have to take a negative. And information content should never be negative. That's why we multiply it by -1. And low probability should correspond to high information and vice versa. So the lower the probability, the more information it's going to take to figure out which one it was.
Yeah.
And the information content from two separate events should be the sum of the information content of each one taken separately. That's what I meant by linear, that sort of thing. This is what the current discussion is about on Peaceful Science Forum. Someone cited a paper for a 10 to the 36 odds, but that is only in regards to one specific function. I'd like a link to that, Nestle. The Peaceful Science Forum. Anyway, what else do I have here? Let's see.
Since you just read that, I'm going to put that up on the screen for our future people who may not have access to the side chat.
Yes. Okay.
Now there was a section in here, and had I had a highlighter at the time, I would have highlighted it, that talked about an insistence on like meaning and purpose.
Yes.
In information, and with Shannon information, meaning and purpose doesn't really have a place, right?
No.
You're just dealing with bits,
right?
Numbers of bits.
Yep. Now there's another kind of information called Kolmogorov information that basically you can come up with a number like say pi, the digits of pi, and you can develop an algorithm to come up with that number. Okay, like you might have some random number like 20202020, and if you look at the Shannon information for that number, you have to guess each individual digit. But if you had an algorithm for that number, it's just, if it's a 2, put down a 0. If it's a 0, put down a 2. So the Kolmogorov information is a lot smaller. Now, the odd thing, pi is a number that, as far as we know, it never repeats. It's like the best copy of a random number that you can get. But it has a low Kolmogorov information because you can develop an algorithm to create pi, to keep generating those numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing. So pi is a really weird number in that it's like completely random, but it has low Kolmogorov information, that sort of thing. That's another little aside on information. Anyway, so okay, back to the book. So I'm at 6.2, information in biology.
That's where my eyeballs had landed as well.
Yep.
Of course, now
Then we have here Maynard Smith has a quote. Do you have any highlights that you want to go over?
Remember, I don't have a highlighter.
Oh,
so there were things in my mind I was going, I hope I remember that. I hope I see that again. But
yeah, boys and girls in Texas, they haven't invented highlighters yet.
that's right. That invention is considered impossible. Only God can highlight your books for you.
Right. Okay, so what do we have here? A central idea in contemporary biology is that of information. Developmental biology can be seen as the study, and they misspelled that for some reason, of how information in the genome is translated into an adult structure, which is very difficult. Oh.
Y'all can read along.
Yeah, we can't find a PDF for this book, and it wasn't available on Kindle. So there's absolutely no electronic form of this book yet. And evolutionary biology of how the information came to be there in the first place. One excuse for writing an article concerning topics as diverse as the origin of genes, of cells, and of language is that all are concerned with the storage and transmission of information. And that is by Maynard Smith and Sathamadri, I think is how you'd pronounce that.
Zathmari, I think. Zathmari.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You know, I really need to turn a light on.
No human is meant to be able to pronounce that name.
That makes me too bright, but I can see my book. So, anyway, I look like midnight.
There is some reflectivity off of that.
Bang! Off the top of my head.
Off the top of your head, that crown.
Yeah, I can actually highlight my book with the top of my head. That's one of the wonderful things about being bald.
Light the room.
The other thing is, you only need a very tiny bar of soap to wash your hair. Really cool.
That's true.
Yep.
Make sure you put some skin conditioner on top of it.
Oh, let's see. The conventional view among scientists is that it is fine to discuss information in the everyday sense, which typically involves notions of meaning and purpose. But then you must abandon any hope of a precise mathematical treatment. Okay, that's like if you want to talk about meaning and purpose and pragmatism, and the people in the biosemiotics and the information community are running smack into this all the time. It is very difficult to quantify and turn into mathematics ideas of meaning and purpose, right? This isn't something that you could do mathematically.
Right.
So what he's saying is that, but then you must abandon any hope of a precise mathematical treatment. Alternately, you can devise a precise mathematical treatment, but only if you ignore the aspects of meaning and purpose so important to our everyday understanding.
Yeah.
We shall see that anti-evolutionists routinely elide that distinction, and this makes their arguments entirely unconvincing because they bounce from the intuitive understanding of information and meaning back and forth, to the mathematics.
Yeah, that word "elide" is a really good succinct word. I had to look it up. It means to omit or slur over, like a syllable in pronunciation, or to strike out something written, or to eliminate or leave out of consideration. In other words, in order to insist there's meaning and purpose in it, you just have to kind of forget your exactness, forget precision. And that gets to that quote I really liked from Matthew Young's, what do we call it? A review of this book. And let me find it.
Oh, Pandas Thumb, that one?
Yes, the one on Pandas Thumb. The one about, I'll just look for the word judge or justice. Indeed, one of the main stumbling block in Dembski's analysis is that he thinks we can recognize design in the same way that Mr. Justice Stewart thinks he can recognize obscenity. In other words, the position in terms of information that creationists find themselves in is, that looks like information, and that looks like having an arm would be meaningful and have a purpose. So yeah, it does. Well, how do you quantify that scientifically, and how do you apply that to evolution in general?
Yep.
And you just can't do that. You can't come up with a formula for meaning and purpose in allele changes over time.
Okay, I'm putting that link in the description for Pandas Thumb review of this book. It's in there. Got it. We got it.
We got it.
We got it. We got it. Okay. So where else are we going to go with this? We didn't rehearse this, obviously.
That's right. This was a totally unrehearsed, spur of the moment. We were just excited this book was out there. And so we decided to read it. In fact, we both simultaneously, independently, decided to read chapter 6 first. Okay, speed. Oh, he's up and moving around. How does evolution increase genetic information? Because it's a famous saying of creationists in terms of information is that mutations decrease information. So if you're decreasing information all this time, how can evolution take place?
Well, think about it now. I picked one of those 8 balls, right? So if I change one of those 8 balls, how would that decrease information? I mean, we have a set of 8 balls, and there's one that I'm really interested in. Okay. And if we took out, that's a bad analogy. Basically, why would it decrease the information to change the information from one thing to another? Okay. What they're doing is they're eliding the meaning again, right? Oh, that looked hurtful. Okay.
I accidentally jammed my big toe right where the toenail and the toe meet, right under there. I actually jammed it right there.
So what they're doing there is saying that any mutation decreases information, is they are claiming that the way the sequence is right now is the right way for it to be. And then if we change it a little bit, then it's not the right way. So
mm-hmm.
They're confused. They're bringing meaning and purpose into it, right? And they're making claims about meaning and purpose. So they're claiming that the way that proteins are currently in the human body and the way our genes are in the human body and in all of us humans is the only way that it can be. And if it changes to something else, well, then that ain't right. So what they're doing is they are embedding their creationism and their God-believing bullshit into the argument itself.
Yeah, as you were describing that, I was saying to myself that sounds like you're assuming the conclusion.
Yeah,
of God's. Basically, when they say meaning and purpose, they mean God.
Right.
God gave it the meaning. God gave it the purpose.
But we'll get into a little bit of that in protein spaces where, what they're saying is that a protein has to be a certain way to be functional. And if it starts to deviate from that with like genetic entropy, then it becomes less and less functional. Well, they're assuming that it is at some peak functionality right now. And if it mutates in my children, then my children are somehow more defective than me because they have a difference. Well, if you change from one amino acid to another, or if you change from just one codon sequence to another and not change the amino acid, you have the same amount of information. Mm-hmm. So information would increase in a genome if you duplicated it.
Yeah, and also, I don't know if it's in 6.3 or in a later section, but he brings up the point of if you have a mutation of A for C or whatever, and later on that's considered a loss of information,
right?
But later on, if it switches back to A, back the way it was before, is that considered a loss of information there? Because things can mutate more than once, and they can actually revert back.
Yeah, they can revert back. Yeah. So Nestle said, to be fair, natural selection predicts that most proteins currently are at a local fitness peak. I don't
Local,
think
yeah.
I wouldn't agree with that. Within this environment, I don't think you could say they're at a peak. They're working. They're on the hill, right? So the hill he talks about, the broad hill. So they're on the hill. They could be anywhere on that hill. It doesn't matter, because I have proteins with different amino acids than you guys have.
Well, I think Rosenhaus adopts that that position about local fitness peaks later on in the chapter, because I remember the big long hill with the one tall peak, and then he did another hill that was a peak, and then a big peak, and then it went down in another peak. And he talked about if you get into that local fitness peak, it's not going to go any further.
Yeah, and thinking in terms of fitness, or thinking in terms of like engineering perfection or fitness or whatever, are just wrong-headed to begin with. You end up going down. You end up going down a dark alley, and you could get mugged down there, intellectually mugged down that dark alley. It's like things are either alive and reproducing, or they're not. Okay, and if we call that fitness, then yeah, it's alive and it's reproducing, and we're getting a certain amount. So natural selection would readily push them towards the peak. Yeah, it does in a population. So overall, that's where natural selection is law-like. It will push you up that peak, basically.
Let me interject. There's a person named Nice Girl in the side chat wondering.
Oh, hi, Nice Girl.
It's going. Apparently, somebody here is a speed of sound, and it's the guy. Oh, it's the guy without the hat. I can't do cameras right.
Okay. Oh, I got to put. I forgot to put back on our display names. Yes. So let's see, and let me go back here and get rid of Nice Girl's comment. Hide. There you go. Speed of sound. Answers in atheism. I can't remember what email street. I know I was on my work computer when I was talking to you, and I'm not sure what my email address was, but it might have been Mike.Brusnak. It might have been Speed of Sound of Gravity. I don't know which email I talked to you on. But anyway, yeah. So this is our channel, me and Scott, and it's called Answers in Atheism. I changed the name midstream. So Nice Girl, I believe, is a geologist, hence the name. Clever name.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Anyway. Okay. So let's see. What do we got here? I pointed out, this is where he says part of the answer is that information is fundamentally immaterial. And I push back on that. Information might be expressed in some material form, but is immaterial nevertheless. He insists on that. I would argue with him about that.
Yeah, I for some reason I let that go by me without challenging it. So
that information is immaterial warms the heart of anti-evolutionists. As they see it, information is a fundamental attribute of living systems, and since it cannot be understood in purely material terms, it forces us to introduce a non-material dimension. And I just showed you how you can understand it in material terms. All you have to do is put the relative distance between particles, or what happens to particles in a quantum field when they get together, and you have a pure physical description of information in the universe. I'm going to be talking to Rebecca later this week, and I'm going to address, like, when I was 10 years old, some of this stuff was forming in my mind. And I used to wander around in the woods and just like revel in the amount of information that was in the woods and the amount of differences that there were between different things.
Yeah, that's one thing I regret. My son really never got to do much. We've always been in urban settings, and I don't have like a big tract of land that kids can roam through. And I feel it's a sadness. There's nothing better than running along a trail in the woods and finding this huge tree has fallen down, and all sorts of critters have taken advantage of it. and you look around, you see nests, and you see bugs, and you see birds trying to get to the bugs and the worms, and just all sorts of cool things.
Yeah, where I grew up, if you saw another person, your first impulse was to run away because you didn't see one very often.
Well, see, that's what we used to teach my son. If you see a person, run. But
right, yeah.
That was for different reasons.
Yeah, every now and then we would go to town, and there'd be like 10 people in town, because the town consisted of about 1,000 people. So yeah, that was a big city for me, Mount Iron, Minnesota.
Yeah, it's too bad everybody can't enjoy the country experience.
Well,
at some level.
I remember being out there in the afternoon, just lonely as hell, just like, please. No, I'm not going to say that because I'll get banned. But anyway, but I was hoping anybody would show up, even somebody that wanted to kill me. It's like, I don't care. It would be exciting to see.
At least it'd be a change in routine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see, what do we got here? In that sense, information could readily be formed, but they wouldn't agree with calling that information. They never defined it. I'm not sure who he's responding to. Luca's here. Luca and Andrew's here, and Nestle and Command Cyborg, all the people I have not said hi to. I am so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry for neglecting you guys if you feel like we don't love you or something. It's just, we're trying to concentrate on the book, and, to have to concentrate on the side chat and the book is kind of difficult.
Doing a pretty crappy job of concentrating on the book. Okay.
I think we need to have a little moderation going on here. I'm blocking that user. Yeah, naked HD XYZ.
Have more cheap what than Tinder? Oh my goodness!
Well, looks like Andrew took care of it for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, good. Oh, okay. What the hell are they trying to do this for? I mean, what do they gain by this? Do they actually, I don't know. Is it advertising something? Okay. Oh, bot. Okay.
Thank you, Ian. Okay. Thank you. You talk about immateriality of information warming up creationist love warms me up, and thank you. I've been warmed up from Australia. That's amazing. Isn't the internet just amazing?
So William Dembski, specified complexity, or the complex specified information, as it is also called, is therefore a souped up form of information. To be sure, specified complexity is consistent with the basic idea behind information, which is the reduction or ruling out of possibilities, like we did with, my little box full of 8 items, right? Ruling out possibilities. We rolled them up one at a time, one bit at a time, from a reference class of possibilities. But whereas the traditional understanding of information is unary, conceiving of information as a single reduction of possibilities, specified complexity is a binary form of information. Specified complexity depends on a dual reduction of possibilities, a conceptual information combined with a physical reduction. So he's kind of dragging in conceptual information. Hi, Thor. What do you want? What can I do for you, Thor? I gave you water. I gave you food. I gave you party time. I petted you.
He just has information he wants to share.
Yes, information. It's like, okay, Thor, you're kind of in the way. Can you read?
Information is that you're in his chair.
Yeah. God damn.
Or you're on his keyboard.
Okay, we'll put the book on top of the cat. Okay, specified complexity.
Thank you, Luca. Much love to you. Oh, the cat. You love the cat. I got it.
Do also note the presumption involved in the first sentence, where we are casually informed that specified complexity is known by more than one name. Since scientists do not use any of this terminology in particular, in the particular idiosyncratic way that Dembski uses it, he is the only one assigning any names at all to these concepts. And he has 2 names for it. Go on, Thor. Go. No, go. No, you need to go. You really
this sort of reminds me of that video about what's the software on simulating
Mendel's accountant.
Mendel's
Yes.
accountant. I watched that video, and his thing too is his conclusion was here's why nobody is challenging Mendel's accountant. And okay, this is a spoiler alert, so if you might want to put me on mute right now, is that nobody uses it but creationists. In fact, nobody uses it but the same creationists that created it and just a few of their friends.
Right. There are better alternatives out there that are far more complex and far more biologically accurate.
And likewise, you only ever see creationists using the specified complexity or whatever he calls it. Conceptual specified information.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing about Mendel's accountant is Mendel's accountant doesn't account for a changing fitness landscape.
Mm-hmm.
Which he gets into a little bit later.
Yeah. That was ringing off bells in my brain when we were going over some of that earlier.
Right. And I wanted to find a picture of these little, like they have these really nice graphics of these like curves and hills, and they're bouncing up and down. They're like boiling. That's what the environment is like for populations. So it's a lot more complicated than their simple.
Yeah, it's bouncing up and down and boiling in slow motion.
Yep.
Sometimes fast motion, but
So then there's a little bit on information viewed in this way. The problem of information growth, which we were just talking about, is really the problem of creating new genes. The solution to the problem is found primarily in a well-known process called gene duplication. As the name suggests, it sometimes happens during DNA replication that a stretch of genetic material gets duplicated. Literally, you end up with 2 copies of the gene where previously you only had 1. The 2 copies can then diverge because you have one already doing the function, and the other one is free to do whatever it wants to do, with the result being more genes at the end than you started with. That is plainly an increase in genetic information. So that's one of the ways that genetic information can increase.
But can you get a cow from a clamshell? That's what I want to know.
Well, yeah. Do you think you're related to clamshells?
I do, actually, in some way, reaching back into the infinite past.
Well, then you and I are brothers. Then, if you're related to clams, then
we're brothers in calamity.
We're closer. Calamity, yes, calamity. Okay, this stream is a calamity. There's nothing cutting edge, speculative or cutting edge about this. Gene duplication is a common and well understood process.
Okay, so in terms of Shannon information, it's just a matter of calculation to find out that duplication does increase information.
Yep.
In terms of quote unquote meaning and purpose, I don't know of any calculations that deal with that. Yeah. But basically, from the get-go, from the time that duplication occurs, can that be used to apply an advantage in the population, or do you have to wait for recombinations, mutations, and drift for that new duplicate section to be of use in evolution?
Yeah.
And I may be inappropriately asking the question, but that's my question. Do you have to wait till more mutations occur for it to be an advantage in the population, or can it, as it is, result in something new that provides an advantage?
If it duplicates, okay, and it is also in the transcriptional area, the part that tells it to transcribe also duplicates, then you will have a cell that will produce twice as much of a certain product. Okay. So if you had such a duplication, it could be either an advantage or a disadvantage.
Just depends on the environment.
Or it could do nothing. I mean, if you produce, twice as much of a digestive enzyme, then you would be better at digesting pizza than I, and you would get less indigestion than I. And hence you would not be distracted by your indigestion, so you would reproduce more. See, that was my problem when I was a teenager. The reason I never got laid is I was distracted by indigestion. Yeah, that was it. I think that was it anyway. That's the only thing I can imagine. I don't know. Let's see. Okay, so duplication has been part of the biologist's toolkit for many decades. For example, here biologist Julian Huxley, writing in 1942, blah, 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 talks about duplication. So, I mean, it's been around for a while. 1942, that was like before I was born, even before dinosaurs. Duplication by itself increases the information storage capacity of the genome. So the bigger the genome gets, like in onions, for instance, there have been some whole genome duplications, and that gives the onion the opportunity to vary more in future onions.
There's more material.
Yeah.
From which
future litters of onions could vary and become quite cool. Like some could become purple, and then we would have Bermuda onions and things like that.
Don't we already have purple onions?
Yep.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we do. Okay. So
but they can become purpler.
He mentions Georgia Purdom in here. Similar.
I know somebody actually quoted Purdom, which is good, I guess.
Yeah. She drives me crazy. I can't listen to that lady. I don't know why. She just aggravates me.
We have Demeter in the side chat. Hey, Demeter.
Oh, did you debate Demeter? Did you debate Nice Girl? I can't remember that. I'm not sure. Okay. As has been said many times, this is Georgia Purdom, many times on this site, duplications and mutations do not add in new information to the genome. Duplications are the result of duplicating existing genetic information. So there's the old canard. Okay. If you and he points out that at a minimum, we're increasing the amount of information or in the storage capacity of the genome, because now we have two of something instead of one of something. Duplications are and mutations alter existing genetic information, whether original or duplicated. Neither of them adds new information. Why not? If you have two genes or you have two strings, A, B, C, D, E, F, and you change one to A, B, B, C, D, E, F, you have added information. You now have more stuff. I don't understand why they don't get that.
I was checking the bibliography to see what peer-reviewed academic journal Georgia Purdom had been writing in. Yeah. And it turns out it was actually an online publication at a place called answersingenesis.org.
Oh.
Huh. Okay.
Sounds well, like answersinAtheism.org.
So maybe she's not dealing very often with bona fide academics in academic peer-reviewed papers that advance the knowledge of the academy.
And then she adds, think about it this way. If I give someone a copy of a book they already own, then they don't have any new information, just a copy of the information they already had. If I subsequently take a marker and mark out some of the letters or words in the copy of the book I gave them, they still don't have any new information, just a messed up copy of one of the original books. Now, I have the habit of just making snap buy decisions on Amazon one click. And so I have
that's pathetic. I've never heard of that. No, nobody does that.
Nobody does that. But I have two copies. I have a number of books that have two copies, right? And so I had two copies of a book on consciousness by Ledoux, and I loaned one to my friend, and I had already started reading it, so I read like 100 pages, and I highlighted the hell out of it. And when I highlight a copy of a book, that adds new information to it. It basically emphasizes what I think about that book, right? So I borrowed it to my friend, and then I got the other book, and it's like, oh shit, I've got to, move on from. I reread some stuff and I made new highlights, and then I got the original book back. So now I had two books with different highlights in it, and so I had to sit there and merge the two of them together. I had an information problem. Even though it was the same book, I had more information because I highlighted those copies. But now she wants to go back to this idea that Adam had the perfect genome. And ever since then, it has been degrading. So, I mean, it's like there again, they build their argument into their conclusion into the argument.
Yeah, I don't know what perfect means in terms of genomes. That it's appropriate. It's appropriate for every environment that you find yourself in. I don't know. I don't know what that could mean, what perfect means.
Okay, Stephanie is really blowing my mind here right now. I don't know.
Show me the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
I don't know where this fits in on the usefulness scale of analogies. In terms of educating, not providing evidence. Analogies aren't evidence. Whoa, you hush. Sorry, my dog just went crazy for a second. Sometimes I get a book that is so important and meaningful that I will like download the audio book copy, and get the hard copy.
Right.
Because sometimes I want to go back and I want to get that specific thing without having to go back. It's essentially a serialized medium that the information is coming through. I don't want to have to scoot the needle back, so to speak, in order to find that quote. And it's important enough to have a hard copy around, that you can highlight and provide information. So a duplication seems like to me like a legitimate means by which to increase information. Although it looks like Rosenhaus sees it as not useful until like a mutation or something like that occurs.
Yeah, there's he didn't mention that it is useful, and just that it would be transcribed more. Basically, you could end up with more of something. That could also wreck you. I mean, it could also hurt you, depending on what was being transcribed. Okay, so then we're getting into like Dembski's argument. So the summary of Dembski's argument is now Dembski. How to explain this? He kept drilling down on information to the point where he was basically saying that the intelligence that created life was built into the universe in the Big Bang. So that's what Dembski ended up with at the end. He was saying that because quantum mechanics is the way it is, and because chemistry is the way it is, that basically that is the intelligence that made life happen. And Rosenhaus says, we already knew that. we already knew that the universe was such a way that the universe produces life, that we're here because of the way the universe is and the way physics is. So his whole argument boiled down to nothing more than saying the universe is fine-tuned for life. And we knew that because we're here. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't fine-tuned for life. And, and then we get back to the puddle argument, right? Like I found myself in a puddle. But I mean, so he goes through a lot of stuff and he analyzes Dembski's theorems where they came up with all these definitions of information. Well, they came up with theorems and they derived the definitions from the theorems rather than, he's talking about this, who is this tosser? What the hell is his name? Witt or something? Or
Witt, G-I-T-T. I think it was also a Witt, but yeah, he heavily quotes somebody named Gitt, G-I-T-T.
Warner Gitt, yeah. Warner Gitt come up with this, like all these theorems in his book. And from his theorems, he derived a definition, which is exactly ass backwards to what mathematicians do. They start out with definitions and then they write theorems. And also what Werner Gitt didn't do is he didn't prove any of his theorems. He just said them. It's like, here's my theorem. You're supposed to prove your theorems based on your definition. And that's how you build mathematics. So, anyway, so let's see. I'm trying to keep an eye on Nice Girl, see if she's got any. Because she's a Guinness. I think she's a Guinness.
She's a Guinness.
She's a Guinness.
Oh, hello.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about McIntosh's argument, which I missed. Where are we here?
Yeah, I wasn't sure where we were at with this.
I'm on 177. So
okay, good. Means we're
we
sort of
now,
making progress.
yeah, we come now to the basic anti-evolutionist argument in this area, which is the claim that mutations can only degrade information. In other words, evolution is based on the idea of stringing together useful mutations, but this is said to be impossible because mutations can only break things. Here's a standard presentation of the basic argument from engineering professor Andrew McIntosh. At the molecular level, the laws of thermodynamics do not permit step changes in the biochemical machinery set up for a particular function performed by cells of living organisms. Thus, random mutations always have the effect of increasing the disorder, or what can be defined as logical entropy, of any particular system, and consequently decreasing the information content. According to
logical entropy, is that a real thing in information theory?
I have never heard of that before.
I guess if you somehow put a magnet to the hard drive holding my audiobook, I wouldn't be able to hear it. I wouldn't be able to play it or play it without static. So
there you go.
Is that logical entropy?
I think that's what he's talking about. Okay, claims of this sort are ubiquitous in anti-evolutionist writing. McIntosh has framed his argument in the language of thermodynamics, which is the subject of Chapter 7, but the claim that mutations always degrade information is standard in anti-evolutionary discourse. Biologists regard this claim as bizarre. It is logically impossible for all mutations to degrade information because mutations can reverse themselves.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Yeah. This is the section. Now, over here on page 178,
yep.
I want us to kind of rate on a scale of like 1 to 5, 1 being least helpful, 5 being, yes, that's a great definition. That's very precise, very informative, helps me describe not information versus information. And that's here in the middle of 178. Definition, and this is from McIntosh, 2009. Definition: information is not created by purely material processes and carries, in coded form or otherwise, an intelligence. But though information is not matter and not energy, it nevertheless always has an effect on the local thermodynamics of any working system. We thus propose the following. So how was that definition of information? 1 to 5, 5 being the most helpful, 1 being the least helpful of all. Is that a good working definition of information?
Can I do fractions?
Yeah, sure.
0.0001.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a very strong, huh?
Yeah. Proposition: where information interacts with matter, it always uses a machine.
Yeah,
yeah, I know. Yeah, McIntosh
definition. Therefore,
yeah. There was another peculiar aspect to McIntosh's argument. The question is of whether complex biological adaptations can evolve in a stepwise manner. Does not seem to have anything at all to do with information or thermodynamics. So anyway, we reject McIntosh out of hand.
Yes, and he didn't have anything to do with the computer, did he?
I hope not. Okay, does God endorse slavery in the Old Testament by Dr. Josh and accidentally bought his other book, Atheist's Guide to the Old Testament? Okay, so go back and buy the other book. Just hit one click twice.
Yeah. In fact, if it says Dr. Josh Bowen on the book, buy it.
Yeah. There you go. Simple.
So, I pre-ordered the volume 2 of that Atheist Handbook to the Old Testament.
You see, Gurr, that's why we named this Answers in Atheism. Okay. Simple answer.
An answer to your dilemma.
Complex dilemmas, right? Okay, is DNA comparable to human language? Werner Gitt. Okay, Werner Gitt is the one.
There's where Gitt comes from.
In the beginning was information. He puts forth a series of alleged theorems about information that are
So I think he let the cat out of the bag there. In the beginning, that reminds me of Genesis, which says, "In the beginning, God created." But now he's saying, "In the beginning was information." Is he saying information is God and God is information?
I think so. Just the Big Bang. It's the way the universe splatted.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, the way the universe splatted into whatever form it is in now. Okay, he lays out the plan of this.
I hate to interrupt. I need to address Gurmania again. Think of the money that Dr. Josh is getting from your mistakes as kind of a surcharge for not shopping attentively.
Yeah, there you go.
So that way you can see this as a lesson to be learned. Right. That had you read the content and clicked on the right thing, you would have got the right book. But now little Oliver, has can now have more pizza or a new basketball or something because of the sacrifice you made for the cause of shopping.
Not only that, but you're contributing to a good cause. Think of it that way.
Yeah.
Yep. Like I said, your debates are educational. Okay. What do we have here? Nice girl, sure, but he never mentioned me, and he did respond. Okay, I'm not sure what I'm reading. Okay. In the beginning was information, so we have Werner Gitt. Yeah, Werner Gitt is the one that basically comes up with Theorem 1. The fundamental quantity information is non-material, mental entity. It is not a property of matter, so that purely material processes are fundamentally precluded as sources of information. That's a theorem, okay? That's not how math works. And
non-material equals mental, I guess.
Information is non-material, mental entity. So he basically, so he can be disregarded entirely, right? Skipping ahead, we come to this. Information is always based on the will of a sender who issues the information. It is a variable quantity depending on intentional conditions. Will itself is also not constant, but can in its turn be influenced by the information received from another sender. Conclusion, Theorem 2 is his conclusion. Information only arises through an intentional act. Volitional act, whatever.
What?
Yeah, so this guy is like, he's touted as like one of the big thinkers in, intelligent design. He's...
So what is Rosenhaus's criticism of Gitt?
That these theorems he pulled out of his ass. From the theorems, he derived his definition.
Don't you have to provide proof for theorems?
Yeah, he didn't bother to prove his theorem.
Okay, so there was no therefore Theorem 1 is correct, or Theorem 2, or Theorem 6.
Well, he's got Theorem 13. Any piece of information has been transmitted by somebody and is meant for somebody. A sender and a recipient are always involved whenever and wherever information is concerned.
So who's the intended recipient of DNA information?
I'm not sure. I don't know. Theorem 14, any entity to be accepted as information must entail semantics and must be meaningful. He's just full of shit. So anyway, we can just pretty much ignore him.
Yeah, he's making assertions that are not supported.
Yep. In the light, let's see, later in the book, he presents his grand conclusion. In the light of the information theorems, all materialistic evolution models are useless and thus rejected.
Hey, we've been going on for over an hour.
Have we?
do we want to put a pause in this and open up the room and see if anybody wants to make any comments about the use of math in anti-evolutionist material?
Yep.
All right. I'm going to put out the link here.
Beat you. I beat you.
You beat me. I'm still putting it out.
I'm better than you.
Does that increase the information in the side chat?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, because the information you can get is that Scott Duke, as well as Speed, wants you to come in, and we all have a little chat about information. I guess we can hopefully be prepared enough next time to do finish the information part, and then maybe do a better job of having, now that I can highlight, at least with these little sticky tabs.
Well, the thing we never get to is protein space and how
protein space. Yeah, we need to do that.
Well, creationists keep asking, how do things evolve? How do you end up getting this, some new animal out of an old animal? And the whole answer is involved in proteins and protein folding and protein space, and how you get from one part of that protein space to another. And that's kind of his next section, is on protein space. And I started to sketch it in a little bit about what, how you can have those 20 amino acids, one of them in the first position, one in the second position. And from that, you go to different kinds of ways of visualizing protein space.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it gets really weird, because it is basically, I think it's a 20-dimensional space, or it could be an n-dimensional space, depending on which way you look at it. You can look at it as how long the protein is, or you can look at it as how many amino acids there are, and how you assign your dimensions, and you end up with all kinds of, you end up running into the problem. The human brain is not really good at visualizing anything greater than 3 dimensions.
Right. Yeah, I've been with protein spaces. I've been kind of thinking in terms of like the grayed out area under a plot on a graph. The whole field in there, and that field, that area that's described by certain limits on a graph is the, in this case, protein space. But you can have multiple dimensions, so that's where it gets hard to visualize it.
Yeah, and so the creationists believe that there's like one dot in the protein space, right? And that protein has to be exactly that protein. But the truth of the matter is that there are all sorts of other dots in a cluster around it, right? So that protein spaces cluster in these little groupings that can all be like, every one of these here is functional. I can modify a whole bunch of amino acids and still have this thing be functional, okay? And be perfectly functional, as functional as it needs to be to allow that cell to thrive and grow in whatever. And then there's the problem of, like, if we are to get to a new function over here, basically, we have to have some sort of a connection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes, this thing will basically, there'll be a number of mutations. And because we have a duplication, because we have 2 proteins here now, say we have 2 proteins because it duplicated, this one is free to move from this space to the other space. And it doesn't cause any harm. It uses a little bit of energy. And then at some point, this one will end up having a new function, that sort of thing. Okay. And there's some really good examples of that I could give with zinc fingers, about how zinc fingers can duplicate and end up with new functions. And but we'll get into that later. So, and nobody wants to come in our room.
I guess. Maybe we proved ourselves to be unworthy of rubbing elbows with these nice people.
Okay, so let's see. Basically, there will be islands of beneficial functionality. These gaps may be quite wide, yes. But there is, because it is such a complicated field, the thing about proteins folding, there's no way to say for sure that all of the gaps are going to be too wide to traverse with mutations. That's just not what we're finding.
Yeah,
Like
and the Douglas Axe paper, which we haven't gone into yet,
right.
its examples it was using was and I don't know how to word it, but what I was getting was that there was a much narrower range of access to the protein space than occurs in nature.
Yeah, he picked a protein, and he picked a domain in that protein that is extremely fragile and is very conserved across different domains, different creatures. And if you have a highly conserved sequence, okay, something that you find in frogs, humans, and you'll find them in amoebas, then you know that you have a highly conserved section where if you modify one part of that, you're going to end up screwing up the function. But there are billions of other examples where that is not the case, where you can modify up to 80% of the protein and you still have the same functionality. So it's good, baby.
Well, it's Germania.
Yeah, Germania.
Hello, friends.
Hi, Ger.
How are you two lovely people doing today? I hope you both are well.
That's so nice of you to ask. I am doing well. My grandson's first birthday, my younger grandson's first birthday is this week, so I'm just thrilled. And how are you?
I am glad to hear that. I am doing very well. Thank you for asking. Speed, how are you doing today, good sir?
Oh, I'm just horrible today. It's just like the worst day.
Scott, why are you laughing? I don't understand.
It's a horrible, horrible. I am 26,099 days old. I'm 99.
You don't look a day over 2,000 years old. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know.
What are you talking about? Come on now.
Did I say years?
I don't know. You said a lot of numbers. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah. Now that you're in the here in the stream with us, would you be willing to talk about that Deuteronomy 28:63 thing that occurred in your side chat?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me look that up. Bible.
Yeah.
Gateway.com. Deuteronomy what? Where'd it go?
28:63.
28:63. All right, let's see here. Just as it pleased the Lord to make you prosper and increase in number, so it will please him to ruin and destroy you. You will be uprooted from the land you are entering to possess. That's the NIV translation.
You've read the complete thing. There was I guess it was Sunday when you were doing that particular live stream.
Yeah.
A Christian apologist or creationist, a Christian creationist, put that in there and said regarding the Holocaust, and he just kind of put that and said he was doing a drive-by shooting. So to me, that sounded almost like a verse being used to justify the Holocaust. But I wonder...
It sounded offensive.
Since you've had more actual conversations with that person than Speed and I have had lately, what do you think he was trying to accomplish with putting that out there?
I did completely miss that. But I saw you talking about it like a day or two later, and I thought, wow, that is really screwed up.
I'm just wondering how I'm supposed to understand that.
It definitely sounded like this individual was using that specifically because of the Holocaust, explicitly, I should say, because he said in regards to the Holocaust, and then he posted that verse. And I think the verse that he said that he posted, the translation said something like, "The Lord delighted in destroying you," or something along those lines. I'll try to find it in my original.
He said, "I will, delight in destroying you and bringing you to ruin," or whatever the
Yeah,
That was the gist of it, the paraphrase of it.
Could you imagine going to some Holocaust?
Sorry.
Somebody's in the side chat.
Sorry, not. Yeah, I see him. Screw that guy. I could not care less about him. But yeah, as far as that goes, with that certain individual, I have to say that is really messed up. Could you imagine going to a Holocaust survivor and using that verse and saying, "Hey, you know what? The Lord took delight in doing that." And if they were to say, "Well, he didn't actually do it, he still allowed it. He actualized the world in which he knew that was going to happen, and he did it anyway."
Yeah, I remember when I was a Christian, a lot of preachers and scholars and folks of that type would talk about God's permissive will. That even though he didn't directly cause it to happen, his will permitted it to happen. And
but we still have free will somehow.
Yeah, and then we have free will. But yeah, so anyway, that just kind of rattled me, and nobody, one or two people said that was whack, of that person to say, but I don't know. Maybe that's something that causes him confusion, and he's just never dealt with it.
Yeah,
I don't know what could be going on.
That was the stream from the other day, wasn't it? The most recent stream.
Sunday. It was Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong stream. Hold on. I'm actually going through that the stream right now through the side chat to see what he said.
Yeah, I've got a couple of screenshots of the side chat on my phone.
Oh, smart. That's a good way to do it.
But I can't get to my phone from my Windows computer.
Let me see if I can find it. I'm looking for it.
So Otangelo is verifying what we said, that highly conserved amino acids can't be changed, but that's not entirely true either. Can't be changed now, basically, with the current.
Entirely true is not something I would usually describe Otangelo's copy and paste text material as. If it smells like paste in the side chat, Otangelo's in the room. He reminds me of that smell of paste, I used to get when I was in first and second grade, where we get out that Elmer's paste and, brush it onto the.
That is all he does. Copy, paste, paste. He's so boring to talk to. Plus, him doxing a trans person, that wasn't cool.
So, Gromania, what have you got for us this upcoming week?
This weekend, I'll probably won't be doing much online, but the 4th of July weekend, I've got a lot of off days, so it's gonna be a fun time. I'm gonna stream over Speed. I'm gonna stream over Jay Pasick. I'm gonna stream over everybody.
Are you gonna sit around and wait till they go live and then start streaming?
That's right.
So is Mrs. Mania not showing up or not around or what?
I just got off the phone with her earlier, and she said that she was working tonight, and she did tell me that, but I just couldn't remember. But I was like, it's after 6:00. She's not home yet. So I called her. She's like, babe, I told you I was at work. I was like, oh yeah, I forget.
I don't know if you've ever said what kind of work she does. Is she in medical stuff or?
She's into like accounting and things of that nature.
Okay.
Like computer work, paperwork type stuff.
Exciting
and
stuff. That
Oh
stuff
yeah.
is riveting.
Well, I'm sure it pays the bills.
It does.
Because it must get costly dropping all your phones into the fryer eventually.
It does. Speaking of which, I'm going to need to get a new phone at some point because my phone's been acting really screwy lately.
And sometimes you just get tired of the smell of French fries in your phone.
Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's nice though. It's like a little phone air freshener.
I know. Yeah, it could be. It definitely could be. There's nothing better than opening a car and smelling, the smell of French fries coming out of the bag. The drive-through, they got it.
The only thing that sucks is after you're done and like you go inside, you come out like the next day, and your car still smells like fries, but it doesn't smell good.
Yeah,
It's
and
like
the
a
fries
bad
that you
fry
dropped are just laying on the floorboard, and when 6 days later, when you finally pick them up and clean them out, they're all stiff, and you go, "How could I have eaten this thing?"
smell. Well, I'm still looking through my side chat, but I'm having a hard time finding it. Oh, wait. I think I just found it.
You
Oh,
think you think YouTube's bot would have got that one? You know,
yeah, you would think so.
like
That's
some biblical verses do not belong in YouTube chat at all. The bot should
it,
just
especially when you're using it as justification.
a racial slur or something. Or yeah, yep.
I'm sharing the screen. That's right.
Hey, you could do a Control F and for the word evidence. There you go.
It says regarding the Holocaust, Deuteronomy 28, verse 63, and as the Lord took delight in doing you good and multiplying you, the Lord will take delight in bringing ruin upon you and destroying you. Regarding the Holocaust, like it could have just not have said the Holocaust part and just said, "Hey, just food for thought." But no, he was literally thinking of the Holocaust. Not a good look. Not a good look. But yeah.
Okay, so Nice Girl has, let's see, instructional information might be more like an instruction manual. So, okay, looking at DNA that way is the wrong way to look at DNA because it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work like an instructional manual. There's no little sequence of DNA that says have 4 limbs and, make them arms on top and make them legs on the bottom. That doesn't happen. That isn't the way it works. And that's the problem with the idea of instructional information. There is no, and the other problem is that if you took DNA and you put it in a jar and you stirred it around for days or years or eons, you'd never end up with a frog. Okay? It takes a little more than DNA to make a frog.
Who is Genesis Girl?
Nice.
Oh, Nice Girl. Oh, I see that now.
I believe she's a geologist, and nice is a kind of rock, so it's just a nice play on words. It's a nice play on words.
That rocks.
See what I did?
Okay, Stupid Whore Energy just shared a link with us to a paper, and I just put it in the private chat for you.
Let me see.
The reason why we're covering this book is because Stupid Whore Energy brought our attention to it.
Right.
And of course, the book we're talking about, you'll see in the thumbnail, is The Failures of Mathematical Anti-Evolution by Jason Rosenhaus.
There's another paper on that. I think it's okay. Let me see if I can find it. There are a bunch of papers on what Angela's talking about. So, Lang. Let's see. Origin and evolution of peptidyl transfer center for. So Stupid Whore Energy put a paper about how the thing developed or how it came to be. I will take a look at those. I mean, this stuff is you gotta think broadly in terms of what's really going on.
You have to think like a scientist and not like a creationist.
I guess so. Yeah, you have to not presume that you know the answer before you start to investigate.
Yeah, otherwise you're essentially begging the question. You have an answer and you're working your way backwards to complete that answer.
If you read the chat, it was comparing a forensic form of info versus functional. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I wasn't paying attention. Nice girl. So,
when you have people like Otangelo who constantly butcher information, it just makes me wonder, like, if there was evidence that was compelling to you, to Otangelo, all he would do, I suspect, is say, okay, well, God did that. Or we would find the answer beyond all shadow of a doubt, evidence for X, and then he'd say, well, what caused X? And it pushed the goalpost back.
Yep.
Yeah, that's that's why I feel like it's just a waste of time talking with him.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
So I'm going to do a thing with Bread of Life, and what I want to do is have her talk to me not about why evolution is wrong or why she doesn't believe it or whatever, or not have me try to prove evolution to her, but I want to talk about across my entire lifetime why I believe evolution. So basically what my belief is about, not what other people's belief is about, not defending it, not trying to prove it, not trying to, whatever. And I just thought it might be an interesting, different way to come at the problem. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, because, there are reasons I believe, and some of them I don't know yet. In talking about them, I may reveal to myself why I believe what I believe. Like when you believe something, like if you really think your neighbor's an asshole, you want to sit yourself down and say, why do I believe that? What is my indication?
Sorry, you're stupid.
Right. Yeah, and then figure out exactly how weak some of our beliefs are, or what the strength of some of our beliefs are. Like I believe that I got a cat tail right here. Oh, I can't show it to you, but I got a cat tail. Oh, Loki, do I got your tail? And I believe that real strongly, and so does Loki. He's gonna fucking kick the shit out of me now. Every now and then when I get to say, I got your tail, and every now and then he goes, wow, and he just lands on me. It's just like, fuck you.
Me, cats and myself, we don't tend to get along that well. I love cats. I love all animals, but cats never like me. Dogs love me, but not cats. Cats are like, get the hell away from me.
I've had cats that, stayed away from me, but some would just cozy up to me and purr and everything. And then I had this one cat that actually belonged to my sister, but it was this huge 30-pound alley cat kind of cat, very, very great coat and everything, golden colored, kind of golden colored. And I would put on some sort of cologne and then go visit my sister. And that cat would just circle me and rub up against me just vigorously. I mean, all afternoon while I was there. Never could explain that. So if a cat doesn't like you, maybe you're just not wearing the right cologne.
Maybe that's it. I should really wear my salmon cologne a little bit more. I think they'd like me.
Oh, where's the logic of cats?
Oh, that's salmon. Yes, that's one of the best.
Do you pronounce it salmon or salmon?
Salmon, like any self-respecting human being would.
Salmon. Give me a sandwich with some salmon.
Yeah, with the English language, you don't question it. You just pronounce it like your mama shamed you into pronouncing it.
This is true. This is very true. It's funny. I was watching Rationality Rules, and
he's,
what is he, Australian?
No, he's British.
I think he's British.
I get all those accents confused, but he was talking about Islam, and he pronounced Allah as Allah, and it made me chuckle. I'm like, stupid Brits don't know how to pronounce words.
Well, in Arkansas, where I grew up, just about everything ends with an ER.
I hate when they say
the vowel sound. It ends with an ER.
Really drives me nuts when they say glossier and methane. Because I don't think the British used to say methane when I was a kid. They do now.
That's social evolution.
Yeah.
And then don't forget, it's aluminium instead of aluminum.
Oh.
Yeah. And
that's what's in deodorant.
It drives me up a wall. Okay. I'm trying to find Botangelo's quoting. Okay. The first replicator system. See, okay, where the hell are we here? Notably, what did he say? Replicating Molly now. Okay, I lost the Otangelo quote. I got to find the Otangelo quote. Paul Davies. Oh, he's giving us quotes from secular evolutionists.
Oh,
okay, much good chance. The first emergence of the first replicator system. Okay, notably, the emergence of parasites, replicator system. I'm trying to find that quote in the book so I can see what the hell he's saying. Mathematical model. Let's say the emergence of the first replicator system I don't think that's in there. I don't think that's in the book there.
Shocker.
I think maybe you left something out here.
Isn't he known to just read the abstract and go no further?
Yeah.
You're muted, Scott.
Let's see. The emergence of life.
That's because I was cursing profusely. No, I was just saying that I've known that.
I got it. Okay, I did find it. So Otangelo is not lying in this particular instance. And I do have it highlighted, interestingly enough. Let's see here. So apparently I have read this before for some reason, probably because some creationist quoted him. Come on, show my chats. Okay, so don't show my chats.
You know what's funny, Speed, is anytime I'm in somebody else's stream like yourself, I'll see a comment and I'll click on it to try to highlight it just out of
I do the same thing in your streams, Burr.
Yeah, I do that too. I do the same. They try to highlight.
He needs to give me control.
Yeah.
You know what's really cool? Feel the power. Oh, can you feel the power?
Yeah. No, I cannot feel the power.
Did you feel powerless?
I looked away.
Oh, okay.
Hey, you just close your eyes till it's over.
Yeah, that's right.
The emergence of the first replicator system, which represented the Darwinian breakthrough, was inevitably preceded by a succession of complex, difficult steps for which biological evolutionary mechanisms were not accessible. Even considering environments that could facilitate these processes, such as networks of inorganic compartments of hydrothermal vents, multiplications of the probabilities for these steps could make the emergence of the first replicator staggeringly improbable. Okay. And so this is where he's talking about. Let me see if I can read this. What the hell? What are we looking at here? Oh, that's Demeter's thing. Paper.
Oh, Speed, one quick thing. You misspelled the same person's last name twice in the description.
What? Oh, Dembski?
Yeah. It's Debski and then Dembski, and it's DEMB followed by the word ski.
Oh my God!
Just letting you know, so after we're done, you can update it so future generations will realize it's the same person.
Is it Demb? Okay. Is it dumb?
It's dumb. It's the
Ski.
word dumb plus ski, but then take the U in dumb and change it to an E.
Where's this guy? Okay. I can't keep up with these fucking creationists. What do you expect?
Name's hard.
DEMB, as in dumb ski.
DEMBSKI.
Oh, okay. I'll fix
But you were
that.
correct in using an apostrophe S there.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So I was wrong this one time.
One time.
No, you were wrong twice.
Oh yeah, but I guess twice. Yeah, I was wrong twice this one time.
Yeah, the first event of being wrong was twice.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Subscript.
And we spelled twice TWGNISS.
No, it's TWGRREIS.
Hey, don't be adding a play on my play of words.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to pile up on plays.
I do have something once you're done with this, Speed. It's Matt Dillahunty versus Inspiring Philosophy, who is not a young earth creationist, but he is a Christian. And it was just this one little part that really stood out to me. But I'll play it. If you want to watch just like maybe 1 minute of it, I'll play it.
Sure.
All right. Well, that was easy. Well, now that now that you're in overtime, I figured it would be okay. All right. I think it's around this mark. Inspiring Philosophy, who is what is the guy's name? Mike Jones or Michael Jones?
Yeah, Michael Jones, I think.
Yeah. All right. Listen to this.
Oh, somebody got to let him in.
You are using. If you were in a video game room and then you walk out of that room, does the room still exist in some sort of absolute space setting?
Well, first of all, it depends.
Well, no, it doesn't.
It does depend. Hang on. It depends on the type of game we're talking about. Because if the game is a simulation of a house that doesn't remove the rooms so that you can go in and out of them, then that room is still being essentially rendered within the engine of the game, even though you're not in that room to look at it.
But it's not on the screen, so all that it exists.
Okay, the screen, you might. That's like saying
if I remember correctly, and I think they'll get to that in one or two more words. Inspiring Philosophy had said something along the lines of, "If I close my eyes, then I don't see the universe, so maybe the universe doesn't exist," or something akin to that. And it was really like, what? Yeah. Let me see if it's right here. Hold on.
if I close my eyes, does the world go away?
Well, I mean, I'm not actually arguing that because I understand decoherence. So,
But you are arguing that because you just said if it's not on the screen, it can't be said to exist.
well, I'm using that as an analogy. Remember, I made that very specific. I'm using this as an analogy.
Okay.
So,
But it goes back to the question that I was asking, which is if there aren't any thinking minds in the universe, do things like friction and do chemical molecules interact? And the answer is yes, they must.
well, they interact in an information setting, but there's no reason to just posit they would sort of exist in the space-time temporal setting because there's no need for them to be.
It just like it's like, how much weed have you been smoking, Mr. Philosophy?
Also, like if you close your eyes and don't see anything, you still interact with the universe because if you're sitting in a chair, you can feel the chair and your butt
That's a
touching.
good point.
You can feel air coming from if you're in Texas, you hopefully feel the air coming from the air conditioner.
Amen.
Little things like that. So it's not just eyeballs. That's
Well, I might actually review that debate at a later time.
I think that would be a good idea.
Say, Gur, we have a
Yes.
rule here. Do you have a link to that debate that you can put in private chat for me?
Yeah. Hold on.
And then we're going to find out when you're going live, and we're going to review the debate before you go live.
2 seconds before going live. Yeah, because I've been kind of wanting to do debate reviews. I reviewed most of T-Jump versus this one idiot named Bubblegum, and that was fun.
I watched that. Yeah, it was entertaining.
God, that was amazing. And he was talking about that in SFT's chat just now this afternoon, I think. I think that's where he was talking about it. Or no, he was talking about it on, what the hell chat did I capture? Yesterday, I think. So he was going on about how T-Jump was, just didn't get it or something.
What an idiot. Yeah. The dude's a complete moron, the Bubblegum dude. The
Bubblegum dumb.
Bubblegum dumb. And then the stream before that, I reviewed, it was Danny and Pine Creek talking with what's the name of that guy's Rob. He has a channel. He has an actual
Rob
channel.
Sentinel Apologetics.
Yeah.
I don't remember his last name, but yeah, it's Rob from Sentinel Apologetics.
Yeah, that's it. I don't know if he's revealed his last name or not, but yeah, Rob, and that was fun. And it was kind of cool because as I'm reviewing it, I'm trying to get to the good stuff where I don't remember who it was in the side chat said, just go to where Rob joins. And I did that, but it wasn't quite there yet. It was still other people talking. But Pine Creek actually showed up in my side chat and said, no, get to the 4-hour mark. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Speak of the devil. So that was pretty cool. Although after we watched probably 20 minutes after the 4-hour mark, I realized that they still had a large discussion probably an hour prior to it. So probably hour 3 on to 4 and beyond. But yeah, it's kind of fun to just sit back and listen to the stupidity that flows out of people's mouths when debating. Because some people are not master debaters.
They aren't. And I know what you're trying to do, but you're right. They aren't.
Ian Chen is a masturbator.
Yes, I respect Ian Chen's ability to masterly debate.
He is a master debater. Debater, what's your response?
Well, gosh, we caught a lot of people off guard today, and they were not prepared to come in and talk to us.
Yeah.
What is today? Tuesday?
Today is Tuesday. I figured Monday would be the worst kind of day for that, but Tuesday is not faring better this week.
Yeah, what are y'all doing streaming on a Tuesday?
We got a shooter in the head, guys.
Well, yeah, because this was only actually supposed to be about half an hour.
Yeah.
We started doing a thing on Tuesdays and Thursdays, like at 8 a.m. Just a quick. This is what I'm reading in my historical Jesus studies. And Speed would talk about embryology just a little bit. Here's just a kind of an update, and then it turns out we're not really good at getting up.
No. And even when we do get up, we're not very good at doing things that we don't have to do. So
I understand.
Yeah, so we get together every morning. It's like, you want to do it? I don't want to do it. You want to do it?
But we really want to cover this book. It's a great topic, and I'm glad a highly trained math scholar is behind it. Did the work on it. Like I said before, Jason Rosenhaus has involved himself in keeping up with creationist thinking since at least the 1990s, and so he's very familiar with the tricks of their trade, and so he's writing the mathematical version of his Among the Creationists book that he did back in 2010, 2015, something like that.
He is not their favorite person.
I just want to say real quick, we don't have to watch it, but I kind of would encourage you to watch it. And it is Jason debated Richard Dawkins.
You mean Darth Dawkins?
Not Richard Dawkins, Darth Dawkins, double D's. And my God.
I saw that. He really hates Jason.
Oh, he hates Jason with a passion.
He screamed like a little, well, I don't want to be sexist.
Where was
that?
Very
immature
like a little boy? Screaming like a little boy?
There's something I could say to that involves Catholics, but I'm not going to do it.
Why do we always go there? Like, poor little boys. Oh my God, poor little boys. They keep getting.
Yeah. Now, that's not something that I feel is worth like watching on a stream, like sharing it. But my God, I don't know why people go into Darth Dawkins' rooms and try to talk to him. It is impossible to have a civil dialogue with him.
I know.
So very toxic.
So that was on Discord that he talked to him?
It was on Discord, but it was uploaded to, I think, Tom Rabbit's channel, I think.
Okay, and so Darth was in control of the Discord? Is that where that's usually where he is, right?
Right.
Well, this was actually on Clubhouse, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think you're right. I think it was Clubhouse.
He is just such a
Clubhouse.
He's such a mouth breather. He's just I
mean,
like,
for me, he's with my PhD in YouTubeology. I diagnose him as a malignant narcissist.
Yeah, well,
and you just can't get in there and win arguments because you won't let it happen.
If I got into a road rage incident and the guy parked his car and came out of his car, Darth Dawkins is exactly the kind of personality that I would expect.
Yeah.
Like a road rage dude, It's like, fuck, what is your problem, dude? You got constipation or, hemorrhoids? I don't know.
What was funny was after I watched it, a suggestion from YouTube came up and it was Darth Talkins on Talk Heathen. And I don't know who the host is. I've seen him before, and I think he has his own channel with his wife now.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about, but I can't remember the name.
Man, he gave Darth a taste of his own medicine. He stayed calm the entire time. The host did.
Really?
And then
his partner is V La Bianca.
Yeah, I believe
Eric
so.
Murphy. Eric
Murphy. That's who I'm talking about.
Oh, it was Eric. No shit.
Oh man, Eric. Oh man, he did such a fucking good job. Because what happened was, Darth would say, something contingency, something maximum well-being, yada yada yada, and all Eric would do, all he would say is, okay, let's pause right there. What do you mean when you say brute fact or whatever lingo that Darth is using, and Darth would try not to answer it, and then get mad because Darth would say, "You're interrupting me," when all Eric was doing was asking a clarifying question. And so he put him in the background. He put him on mute like probably 6 or 8 times, and each time Darth would get more and more mad, but Eric stayed calm and collected the whole time. It was probably the best interaction I've seen with Richard.
Was he on with Hector Garcia? Was that the one?
Let me see here.
2019.
I think it was 2019. Hold on, I can tell you for sure.
Let me see.
No, it wasn't that one. It was. It came out 3 years ago. It's Precept Apologist. Excuse me, sir. Is the name of?
That's the one I got.
Okay, yeah. Oh, it is so good. It's so worth watching just because it's so nice to see Darth have no power. And anytime he tries to force his way into the conversation, he just gets shut down every time. It's beautiful.
It's this one right here. I'll link it in chat so people can find it. So.
Yeah, it's good. Like I would do a review of it, but there's really nothing I can say because like Eric handled it so very well. But yeah, I think he has his own channel now, but I don't remember the name of it.
Eric Murphy? I think it's the line or something with La Bianca.
Yeah, V La Bianca and himself. And what'd you say the name of it was?
The Line? Is it The Line? Or is it
No. They may have been on The Line, but that's a Jimmy Snow thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, Eric kind of had a little bit of a falling away.
Oh,
so, Eric Murphy and Jamie Boone on Talk Heathen, they had a great show. And both of them basically got kind of like pushed out of the atheist community of Austin. And that was sad.
Was that because of the guy? What's the guy's name? Stephen Walford's comments.
There was fallout. Well, that's why Jamie Boone ended up getting pushed out, and then later on, Eric Murphy left for similar reasons. And that atheist community of Austin started out to be just the most wonderful thing. It was a wonderful collection of people, and then that rationality rules thing ended up just like. It was almost like if you tap on a piece of glass that's ready to break, it'll explode.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that one incident. I think it was like kind of a collection.
Yeah.
If memory serves me right, all the videos that I had watched about it from people from the inside, I think Matt Dillahunty was one of them who talked about it, including, of course, rationality rules. Yeah. And the impression that I came away with was, like you said, there was already some cracks in that glass, in that window. And rationality rules commentary on transgenders in sports was basically the straw that broke the camel's back. And
Claire Wallner and the other two, I think they called themselves the godless bitches or something.
And I think Tracy Harris, maybe.
Tracy Harris, Claire Wallner, and there was one other, I can't remember.
Jen Peoples?
Yes. Yeah, those three fell away real early on, and there was a whole bunch of I don't know, something wrong with man.
That first iteration of Godless Bitches podcast was just really so good because it had Tracy and Jen, Matt Dillahunty's first wife, or previous wife, Beth.
Okay,
and they really, talked about things, and I think Claire was on there quite a bit too.
Yeah,
and they really talked about things, feminism, in a really cogent way. Yeah, and it was really insightful, and I miss it. And I think the at least Texas is less well off because they're not doing that anymore.
Yeah, and none of them want to do anything anymore. I mean, they were so displaced, so put off by all this that they haven't really gotten together. I think they have channels, but they don't do anything related to this.
Yeah, I think I saw Eric Murphy and Russell Glasser on that, whatever their YouTube channel is. and they took questions and things like that. And that was really cool, really refreshing. And I put in the side chat, please do a show with Jen and or Tracy.
Yeah.
Because they were just such great assets that they don't know. They're not aware, at least maybe the newer bunch for the atheist community of Austin, they're just not aware of what an asset they were.
And that was just such a wonderful community with the bat cruise and the things they had every year, you know, and I used to go down there and it was just, I mean, the whole thing was just had a power to it. It was rolling, right? And then it just hit a wall and it just kind of split apart. It ain't shit anymore. I don't know. Anyway, I want to shoot her in the head, guys.
Understandable.
I got to go make kielbasa and sell it is what we're having for dinner tonight. Well, you can ask me about that backstage, Kerr, and I will explain to you.
Okay. I'm not even going to do that this time.
We're shooting her in the head now. Goodbye, cruel world.
Thanks for listening in, folks.
Yep. Subscribe to all channels.
And goodbye, beloved side chat.
So subscribe to Gurmania's stream, Gur streams, because that poor fucker, he doesn't have any subs. So okay.
I'm hungry.
Goodbye, guys.